Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Show. My name's Ethan McDowell, and I am joined by Noah Fleischman. We are back for a postseason basketball update episode. NC State's women's basketball team just wrapped up their ACC tournament run, and the men's basketball team is in the middle of their own. We're going to recap the first one, talk about, we're one game into the second one, so we're going to discuss the first game and then preview the second game here that is scheduled to tip off later tonight. Before we do so, we're both writers for the Wolfpacker.com. That is NC State's site on the On3 network. On3 is the fastest growing college football, college basketball recruiting site on the internet right now. A lot of exciting news coming to On3.com right now. And Noah and I are working our butts off to deliver the best NC State coverage that you can find on that site right now. If you're interested in joining, it is only $1 for your first month right now. So go check it out. It's about as cheap as you can get there, and that gives you access to our message board, recruiting scoops, team analysis, and stuff like that. We've all got it on the wolfpacker.com, so go check it out. It's only $1. All right, Noah, let's talk Wolfpack basketball. We're going to start with the men's tournament run because we have a game to preview for tonight. Let's start with yesterday, though. NC State goes to DC and starts off its ACC tournament run as the 10 seed. They go in there, and after falling behind against Louisville, they storm back and win 94-85 in a shootout. Noah, you were there. You were sitting right behind NC State's bench covering this game. So give me the rundown. What did you see that you liked from NC State during this win over Louisville?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of the same story we've seen the entire year, but it worked out in their favor. They fell into a 12-point deficit early in the game. First 8 minutes, they're already down 12. Thinking to myself, okay, we'll see what happens. The next 8 minutes were really crucial. They ended up making a 1-point deficit by halftime, which is kind of what NC State, when they want to get back into a game, that's what they need to get to. It's about as close to even as possible going into the halftime locker room. Come back out, jump out to a lead, build a 7-point lead, and just hold that basically the rest of the way. They ended up winning by 9, 94-85 over Louisville. Yes, they let Louisville score 85 points, but Louisville isn't a bad offensive team. They're not a great defensive team either. So they can score a lot of points. But NC State was able to score more. And I think the biggest thing that I liked about it is NC State has struggled at the free throw line this season. They lost to Pitt by going 6-15 in a game they lost by 3. You make 4 more of those, they win the game. They shot 40 free throws in the game, Ethan.
Yeah,
they made 33, which is the season most, and ties the ACC tournament record in the first round for the most in the first round of the ACC tournament. Wake Forest did it a few years ago, too. I had to double-check the record book before we started. So, yeah, Casey Morsell led the way. 13 of 13 from the free throw line. He hit every single one, finished with 25, a team high. You look around, Ben Middlebrooks went 7 for 8 for a forward. That's really, really good. Michael O'Connell, 5 of 6. DJ Burns, 4 of 5 for the line. And then Jaden Taylor, 4 of 6. Cam Woods went 0 for 2, but he hadn't shot a free throw since his season debut against Tennessee in early December. So that one's okay. Overall, did what they needed to do to come out the win, but making 33 of 40 free throws, told Casey Morsell after the game, his eyes lit up. He goes, I didn't realize it was that many. Well, it was that many, and they needed basically all 33 of them to win.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Louisville's, they're bad. They're in 8 in 2014, right? They just fired their head coach. But there's been times where NC State has played bad teams this season, and they have not hit the efficiency that they did in this game. Like you said, they shot 52.9%, hit 36% of their threes. And, they took care of the ball pretty well, too, I thought. Louisville gave it away 16 times, and NC State finished with only 9 turnovers. So that's a successful day right there. And then, you couple it with the fact, you're missing DJ Horn. You do not expect NC State to score 94 points against any team, I'd say, without DJ Horn in the lineup. So, cool to see Casey Morsell step up. Cool to see Jaden Taylor hit some really, really big shots down the stretch of that game, too. And, it was a fun game to watch, back and forth shootout. So, survive and advance this time of year, and NC State lives to see another day in D.C. No, before we get into the matchup against Syracuse, I wanted to just ask, you've been there for a couple of days now, just kind of what's like the vibe around the team? What's the energy like around the program? Obviously, there's been tons of speculation about Kevin Keatts' job security. We're not going to get into that. We'll discuss that if anything happens there. We'll discuss the news as soon as it happens. But just overall, in terms of the energy of the team, the vibe you're getting from Keatts and the players, just what are you kind of feeling around the Pack right now?
Yeah, this is a team that feels like, TJ Burns said it last night, why not us? They have to win 5 games in 5 days, but they believe they have a chance to win the ACC tournament. That's the only way they can make the NCAA tournament. And they do, I think, understand what is on the line, not only for themselves, but for Kevin Keatts and what he needs to do this week to prove himself to kind of, stay. The seat is hot, most likely, but they recognize that. They also recognize what fans are saying on social media about this team. A lot of them say they see it and they want to prove them wrong. And I think that says a lot about this NC State team, because there's been points this year where I think that it's gotten to them a little bit. What people say. I know that we talk about this in football when they had their losing point in the middle of the season. Players see it. And whether or not they really say they see it, you hear some guy saying, "Oh, I block it out." No idea what they're saying. They know what's going on.
Yeah.
And NC State's playing with a chip on its shoulder, trying to not only prove to the rest of the country what NC State basketball is, but I think they're trying to prove to their own fan base a little bit of they're here to play. And they're in the NCAA, they're in the ACC tournament looking to get the NCAA tournament, which it's a tall task to do. But, they're able to win against Louisville. They think that they have a good shot against Syracuse as well, and we'll get into that. But overall, this is a team that is playing with a little bit of swagger, I think, trying to just say, hey, nobody believes in us but us. Let's go out there and win games. They found a way to beat Louisville, and I think that this is a kind of team that's not going to win pretty, but it's a team that's got the toughness, I think, to win ugly. And they did against Louisville, who, hit 10 threes in the game. Sky Clark, we can talk about him for a second. Sophomore for Louisville, 36 points. He hit basically every shot he took. Not a whole lot. I think NC State tried playing defense. They let him get some open looks, which is head scratching, but I think they need to clean up because Syracuse can knock down some threes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the effort thing, and I think that's the most impressive part about this team is no matter how bad things have gotten this season, they continue to play hard. There's really not that many moments where I've been like they looked checked out, and that's reflected in their post game and other press conference comments, and it's reflected in their style playing on the floor most of the time. So, hey, I know it hasn't been pretty, but it is worth supporting the team because they're still giving it all they have. So, let's buckle up and see if they can do the improbable. I mean, 5 games in 5 days, is it likely, Noah? No. Is it realistic? No. But it is possible. So why not hold on to that belief until proven otherwise, right?
It's March. Anything happens in March, Ethan.
Anything can happen. And that starts with tonight, 7 p.m. tip against Syracuse, the battle of the Block S's. NC State is 0-2 against the Orange so far this year. They got beat pretty handily the first time these two teams faced off in Syracuse. And when they played at NC State, 4-point loss. Honestly, one that NC State probably should have won. To me, honestly, man, that kind of felt like the turning point in the backstretch of the season where, if they had won that one, then you have 3 straight with Clemson, Syracuse, and BC, and then you're kind of cooking. But that loss was tough. I mean, they went off offensively in the first half. 55 points. Chris Bell scored 26 points. So, it's a tough matchup and one that NC State has not done well with so far this season. But it's tough to beat a team 3 times. We talked about that off mic. You see it all the time in postseason matchups like this. You can beat it. You can sweep a team in the regular season and drop a tournament game against them. That's not uncommon at all. So Noah, just your thoughts. You've watched these 2 teams play twice. You've done plenty of research on them now 3 times. So how are you feeling about this matchup?
When you look at the teams left in the ACC tournament, it's a favorable one because the way NC State played in Raleigh at PNC Arena against Syracuse the second time was a lot different than the first time. First time, Syracuse was just the better team. They led by double digits practically the entire game.
Uh-huh.
And when you look at this game, two things happened at PNC Arena. One, Chris Bell made 8 threes in the first half. And he's a guy who doesn't dribble the ball. He literally is a catch and shoot guy. They left him open, and he does what he does. Second half rolls around. He took 1 3 missed. That was it. They eliminated him. They know how to take him out of the game. I think we'll see that right away because I think Kevin Keats this morning in D.C. will pull up on the film all 8 threes he hit and say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm sure they looked at it after the game too. Second part is, Copeland for him, played 26 minutes. He took 13 shots off the bench, made 10, had 25 in the game. He hurt them too. He also talked a lot of crap.
He does talk a lot of crap.
He talks a lot. And NC State players getting frustrated. So I think that's one. They know the personnel. You obviously know what you're getting out of Judah Mintz and JJ Sterling. Their backcourt is one of the best backcourts in the ACC. Young backcourt, but they're really good. Flip it on the flip side. NC State relied on DJ Horne to carry them in that game. He scored 32 points, 6 threes, did it all. Next closest scorer was Ben Woodrooks and DJ Burns with 12 each. This is a different team because the guard play is getting better around DJ Horne. In fact, DJ Horne didn't play yesterday. He's dealing with a hip injury, questionable against Syracuse, game time decision. I'd imagine they're going to try to get him to go. Kevin Keats said yesterday if there was an event, like if they needed him to play yesterday, there's a chance he could have gone. They held him out precautionary. We'll see if he goes today. But the way that Jaden Taylor's played in the last 5 games, he's averaging just under 19 points a game now, which is incredible because he had this stretch where he started this game, or he came off the bench against Syracuse, had 10 points. It kind of started to get it going of his off the bench, production because he started and toward the end of his starting point of the season, he was averaging 7 points. Wasn't really shooting the ball well, shooting a lot better.
Is there anything like that you credit that to? Because he's been really, really good offensively down the stretch of this season. Is there anything specifically you can point to of why that's happening?
I think it's kind of one of those things where you just need a change of scenery, see the ball go in, sit on the bench, get the game flow going. I think it's one of those things because he talked about it was an adjustment. This is a guy who started, for a lot of his life, as the guy that the go-to guy. But he said he adjusted to the bench and he's playing well off the bench. And he started against Syracuse without DJ Horne, dropped 18 points. I think he's starting to see the ball. Michael O'Connell scored 16 points against Louisville. He's starting to see the ball go down. The other guards are doing their thing. And I think that NC State is becoming not as one-dimensional as it was before, where it's either find a DJ, whichever one, and let him score. But now their other guys are getting going. Casey Morcell is finding ways to get to the free throw line. That's going to be important against Syracuse. So that's what I think the biggest difference is in this team from, a month ago when they played Syracuse and now, this is a team a lot more complete. I wouldn't go too far saying it is a complete, team, but I think that they're offensively is getting better and better. And I think that's clicking at the right time. So we'll see what they do this time around. But I think that NC State's got confidence. Other guys are seeing the ball go in the hoop, and that can become contagious. And we've seen it down the stretch here.
For sure. And I mean, now you're looking at it, DJ Horne's game time decision. I don't know if we've mentioned it earlier on the episode, but he's out with it's a hip flexor, right, Noah? So
bruised hip flexor is what they described it as.
That's not a fun injury. That's definitely a painful injury to be playing basketball with. So he's a game time decision, though. Keats did bring up in the post game that if they were trailing, that playing him the second half was in consideration, I guess. So we'll see if we see him on the court tonight. Obviously, that'd be a huge boost for the team. He is obviously their best scoring player. And hey, now that the other guards are heating up, you put him back into the lineup. Who knows what it could look like, right? So, all right, I'm going to put you on the spot, Noah. Pick the game. Winner or loss for the Pack?
Oh, well, Vegas thinks the Pack are playing close. It's a 2-point spread to open up this morning going to the game. I think it really depends. I'm going to give you a non-answer here. But I think it depends on how the first 10 minutes go. The first 10 minutes they played against Louisville where the defense was almost non-existent, don't think they'll get it. I think they come out playing defense and with the high intensity, turning Syracuse over a little bit, getting out in transition, running the floor. I think NC State's got a good chance to win this game if they can do that. But if they come out flat like they did for the first 8 minutes against Louisville, Syracuse is too good of a team. They're going to run NC State out of the gym. So there's your answer. If they play well in the first 8 minutes, I give them a good shot. If they don't, they might be the end of their time in the nation's capital.
Sounds good to me. I'm on board there, and I'll use this kind of as a segue into the second half of our episode to talk about the women's tournament run. But Wes Moore kind of brought up that, playing a team that has already played around in the conference tournament has some disadvantages. Obviously, your legs are fresher, but they've kind of got those first game jitters out of the way. They've, gotten more used to, the depth of the arena because obviously, NBA arenas are a little different to shoot in than most college arenas as well. So they're used to shooting in the new arena. They've gotten the jitters out of the way. And now you get a chance to, play again, continue whatever momentum you built with the prior day's win. So he says that usually has an advantage in the opening, minutes of the game for the team that has already played. Now that, advantage wears off as the game goes on and you kind of knock off the nerves and so on. So, but hey, maybe that means NC State can kind of jump out to an early lead here, which, would be a pivot from how the last couple games have gone against the Orange.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, in this game like this where NC State's played one, Syracuse hasn't, I think it's, that the lag thing isn't too big of a deal, especially since they had almost, more than 24 hours from tip-off yesterday to tip-off tonight. So that won't be too big of a deal. I would say that the legs come into play probably tomorrow if they win today. 2 games, back-to-back days, 3 games in a row. That's probably where the legs get tired. Yeah. But I think that NC State has got enough time. And, hey, DJ Horn might be out there. He said that, Kevin Keith said, good thing they've got a 7:00 game. They can spend basically the entire day rehabbing him. They even, on the bench sitting right behind him, somebody asked us like, hey, you want to go in the back and do treatment now? And he's like, nah, we're good. He wanted to celebrate with his teammates. But I think that they're all working out, finding ways to, get him feeling as well as possible. And we'll see what happens.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's pivot to NC State women's basketball. But before we do that, just a quick shout out to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time is a ticket buying and selling marketplace for whether you're looking for tickets to the ACC tournament, you're looking for tickets to a Hurricanes game, you're looking for tickets to go to a concert or a comedy show. All of that, you can find it on Game Time. It's an app on any app store, or you can find it on your web browser at gametime.co. Easy to use platform. Easy to find the games you're looking for, and good prices as well. My favorite thing about the app is when I log on, whether I like to buy my tickets pretty late. I like to spontaneously go to a Hurricanes game or a Durham Bulls game or something like that. So if you can go and buy tickets at the last minute, and when you do so, you can see the exact view from your seat. I will hold it up for those watching on YouTube. But look, I have the app pulled up here, and you can see for this Hurricanes game exactly the view from your seat if you bought that ticket. So, it's a good deal. It's a good deal to go on there, easy to use platform, and to make the deal a little sweeter, use code Wolfpack when you check out. That's all caps Wolfpack for $20 off your first purchase. Like right now, this Hurricanes game we were looking at, the cheapest ticket is $35. Shoot, $20 off of that, you're going for cheaper than what a hot dog and a drink would cost you at most games. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you could use that coupon yesterday, because tickets to the ACC tournament for yesterday's game were like $2. But yeah, if you can,
paying you.
So. Exactly. There might be a minimum purchase, but yeah, you could have gotten good tickets then, and definitely keep Game Time in mind, because if the Pack keeps winning in DC, you might want to make the trip up 95 and catch the game.
Absolutely. And if you do that, go check it out, the Game Time app on any app store or gametime.co on your web browser. Okay, Noah, let's dive into the women's basketball team, which just wrapped up a run to the title game in their ACC tournament in Greensboro. First of all, the ACC tournament, I know that they want to move it around, maybe get it out of North Carolina every now and then. Maybe you'll get it to Charlotte, get it to DC, get it to wherever. It's awesome in Greensboro. I love going to cover games in Greensboro, man. You can just feel the history in the Greensboro Coliseum. And it was cool, going there and watching NC State win a couple games. They took down Duke in the quarterfinals, 54-51. it's sort of just a defensive battle. I mean, NC State scored 21 points in the first quarter and then scored 22 in the next two combined. So Duke's offense, it's legit. They can shut down just about anyone. So it was cool to see the Pack kind of weather that storm. And Zoe Brooks had a huge game that day. 10 points in the second half, dished out 5 assists, and bolstered Isaiah James's team leading 16 points. So that was an impressive win to me. Duke obviously had beaten them pretty handily in their past matchup earlier in the regular season, just 3 games prior, beat them by 11 in Cameron Indoor. So that was a good, get back game. And then they absolutely destroyed Florida State. And Noah, you talked about kind of how tired legs can catch up to you. I think that's what happened with the Seminoles. They went on like a nice little run where they won 2 games, knocked off Syracuse in the quarterfinals, but then just kind of ran out of gas. NC State held them to 43 points. That is well below their season average. Florida State was the leading scoring team in the ACC going into that game at nearly 80 points per game. So 2 impressive wins in that one. I mean, the Pack shot, they put up 69 points and won by 26 by shooting 12.5% from 3, Noah. So they found a way to get it done inside. They absolutely demolished Florida State on the glass, grabbed 58 total rebounds to 32 for Florida State. So before we discuss the championship game, Noah, I know you were tuned in for the first 2 games as well. Did you have any takeaways just from watching them beat 2 opponents they've already beat before, but 2 opponents that are also comfortably in the NCAA tournament field right now?
Yeah, I think they did a good job because the 3-ball wasn't falling at all. The entire all the games they played in Greensboro, even the championship game. But what they did a good job, especially in Florida State, was going inside, getting points in the paint. They had scored them, I think, 40 something to like 18 inside the paint against Florida State. So I think that shows what NC State's offense can do when the ball is not falling on the outside. But 2 great wins for the Wolfpack. I guess they struggled against Duke at Duke. They revenged that one. Florida State gave them a game in Raleigh that I was there for, an overtime game. They handled Florida State. But so I think that, NC State, even though championship game didn't go their way entirely, still can have a lot to build off of from the ACC tournament. One, playing in a tournament setting again, playing multiple games in a row helps get ready for the NCAA tournament where you're going to play 2 games in the same weekend. And 2, builds confidence. And that they played a lot better against those 2 teams that they kind of struggled with a little bit this season. Duke beat them. Florida State took them to overtime. Florida State's not a bad team. They're both not a bad team. They're going to play in March, right? Their seasons aren't done. But NC State, aspires to be that Final Four caliber team. And they found ways to win, which this point of the year, survive in advance. That's what they say, because you need to find any single – you don't get extra bonus points for winning by 50. Well, you might in the seeding process. But once you get to the NCAA tournament, there's no bonus points. You don't get to skip the second round game.
The net is gone.
No, the net's gone after Sunday night's selection show. So I think that's the most important. Find any way to win. They did that 2 days in a row. Notre Dame, different story.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think those 2 teams that they beat could beat just about anyone in the tournament. Duke, I see them on the 7 or the 8 line. Oh my gosh!
Can you imagine having
a 1 or a 2 seed and you get Duke in your first round game? I wouldn't want to be that top school if say that's a Texas or an Ohio State or a USC or something like that. That would be a tough matchup. So, anyways, it set up a championship game against Notre Dame. Notre Dame was the hottest team in the ACC going into that matchup. They had won, I believe, 7 straight. They hadn't lost since NC State beat them in South Bend, Indiana. So, it was a tough matchup for them in terms of just crap, my video cut out here, but we can keep going with the audio. So NC State took care of business in the first quarter, went up 15-14. It was a strong start for them, honestly. I thought they looked pretty good. But then, you score 7 points in the second quarter, 8 points in the fourth quarter. And against Notre Dame, even when you play what I thought was really, really good defense by NC State for the entire game, I thought it's Notre Dame has a lot of weapons. They are a tough team to stop overall. And that showed up with superstar freshman Hannah Hidalgo dropping 22, 6, and 6. Maddie Westfeld had 16 and 7. Noah, just overall, your thoughts on the championship game that ended in a 55 to 51 defeat for the Wolfpack.
Notre Dame's a good team. They're two pretty evenly matched teams when you look at it. NC State does have the better, non-conference resume with the wins over Carolina or UConn and Colorado, but both teams were in similar situations. Notre Dame didn't have a lot of players on the bench. They only played 6 players, and NC State only played 6 players because Wes Moore likes to roll with the veterans and only let them play. So each team got exactly 26 minutes off the bench. So you can't really blame. You can't say, well, NC State's playing with 6 players and Notre Dame's in the same boat. What it came down to was Hannah Hidalgo is the real deal. She had 22 points. Hit 3 threes, 2 steals, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. Does a little bit of everything, and showed why she's the a first team All ACC player as a true freshman. She really impressed, and I think that's my biggest takeaway was how good she really is. NC State was able to neutralize a lot of Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Played really, really good defense this time around. Defense was solid. You played a game in the 50s, gives you a chance to win. But NC State 3 of 17 from 3, and 17.6% is just not going to cut it. Isaiah James, the team's best 3-point shooter, 0 for 6. That is what sees it. Welcome back to the video podcast, Ethan McDowell. But I mean, when the best 3-point shooter on the team's going 0 for 6 from deep, it's kind of one of those days. And they lost a 4-point game. Not the worst thing in the world. I think a win would have given them a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. You win the ACC title. A loss puts them on the 3 line. Still going to host, still going to get a favorable probably draw, which is a good thing to get to the second weekend. But 3-point shooting's got to improve, Ethan. It did not really do well the entire weekend. I don't think there was a game they made more than, 3 in a game. So that's going to be probably something Wes Moore's been working on ever since they got back from Greensboro and trying to figure out ways to get some shots to fall.
Yeah, and 3-point shooting really hasn't been their issue this season. It has been some of the losses, but I mean that makes sense. You don't shoot the 3 ball, that's probably going to be an issue when you lose. But I thought last year that was just a problem all season where they just didn't shoot well for most of the year. This year, they've been fine from behind the arc, so I don't think that was the biggest issue until this point. And they just went cold. Still managed to win a couple games despite that, though. And I think Notre Dame is just a really, really good team. I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame was in the Final Four by the end of this year. But I also wouldn't be surprised if NC State made a run like that. Madison Hayes talked about it after the championship game. She talked about how they were picked 8th in the ACC preseason poll. The team has already exceeded those expectations, but those were never the expectations they put on themselves. Wes Moore said that as well. To him, they were not the 8th best team in the league going into the season. He knew that. So they went in, blew expectations out of the water, and kind of set a new bar for themselves going into the postseason. And to the point where you lose an ACC championship and it's almost a disappointment. So, great run by them, I thought. I thought they played Notre Dame well. I don't think you can really, be that upset about the game. They went cold at the end. Notre Dame hit a couple clutch shots, especially Hidalgo, who, not only one of the best freshmen, one of the best players in the country, period. So, get ready because it's a lot more games against teams of Notre Dame's caliber the rest of the way. But the Pack has the ability to make a run like that, in my opinion. And let's run through the bracketology right now, Noah.
Good.
So right now we're looking at bracketology from The Athletic and ESPN.com. Both of them have them on the seed line. I completely agree with what you said. I think the ACC championship was essentially a play-in game for one of the final 2 seed spots. So I expect Notre Dame will probably end up on that line. The Pack will end up comfortably on the 3 seed line. I don't see them falling to a 4. I certainly don't see them falling to a 5 and losing hosting abilities. So feel good about that. They're gonna host games. ESPN had an interesting projection for the Pack, Noah. They have the Wolfpack playing number 14 seed Chattanooga. That is an interesting matchup because, of course, that's where Wes Moore coached before he coached for the Pack. NC State has played Chattanooga 3 times overall in its history, twice since Wes Moore joined the program. And they won both of those matchups in earlier years. The most recent one was, I believe, in 2019. So, Moore had a storied tenure with the Mocs. He won 12 Southern Conference championships in the regular season and then 9 league titles over 15 years. So really, really impressive run by him there. Obviously, earned him the NC State job. And, that'd be a cool matchup, a cool storyline for Wes there as well, because he spent so much time in Chattanooga. And now, he's almost spent the same amount of time in Raleigh. So that'd be a cool little matchup there if that came to pass. Chattanooga has locked in their automatic bid already by winning the Southern Conference conference title recently. All right, and if they win that game, then they would play the winner of West Virginia and Green Bay, the 6-11 game. So both of those games would be hosted in Raleigh too. So if you're thinking about going to the tournament games, and they're going to host, and I'm sure that'll be an electric atmosphere. So it'll be my first time covering NC State NCAA tournament games in Raleigh. So really looking forward to that. The Athletic, put them in the same region, Portland 4, has Stanford as a top seed, number 2 seed Texas. So, good teams there. And then they would play number 14 seed Jackson State, who, they've been mocked NC State quite a bit over the past couple of months here. I think it's a tough matchup. Jackson State's pretty good. They have a lot of experience against high major teams this year. They played Texas and Kansas State and Miami. They played Miami within 7 points. So they're a really, really talented mid-major team, as obviously, most of the teams are. But Jackson State, I think, would be a tough matchup as a 14 seed. And then it wouldn't get any easier if they won that game, because the next opponents would either be number 6 seed Ole Miss or number 11 seed Marquette. Ole Miss, of course, last year upset Stanford, a number 1 seed, to advance to the Sweet 16. So, March Madness is a gauntlet. The Pack, played its way into some favorable seeding here, and we'll see how it goes. I know Noah and I are personally rooting for them to be placed in an Albany regional, so it is possible for us to make it to possible Sweet 16 games if NC State advances that far. But keep an eye on that. Selection Sunday night on ESPN at 8 p.m. Find out where the Pack's going. Right now, both ESPN and The Athletic also have 9 ACC teams projected to make the tournament field. That leads all conferences. So that's just an illustration of how stacked this league is. Moore talked about it in his post-game press conferences over the weekend. The ACC is about as good of preparation for the NCAA tournament as you can get. And all right, I believe that's it for the show today, Noah. Thank you all for tuning in, listening to us talk about some ACC tournament hoops. We'll be back next week to, talk about where NC State landed in March Madness, to give sort of like a season wrap-up on NC State men's basketball, unless they go on a run here, and we have a lot more to talk about.
We may have an emergency podcast if they run the table. I'll just put it out there.
Yeah,
no. An emergency.
I think we'd have to record an emergency pod if that happens. So if that happens, we'll see you then. If not, we'll see you same time, same place next week. Thank you all for tuning in.